Welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. This is for educational purpose only. This is the case of the Idaho 4. May the 4 victims rest in peace. Condolence to the families, and may the correct justice be served. BF and DM, the two surviving roommates of 1122 Kings Road. Today I'd like to talk about two important things. The changed timelines and the 911 call that was on gag order until recently. Both of them are crucial in this case, in my opinion. And both of them play a major role. If anything is changed, the outcome is big. It's major. The whole direction of the case changes. The timelines has everything to do with it. This is all for education purpose, my thoughts, my speculations. Now even a 5-year-old child knows to call 911 if something happens to, God forbid, their parents, their loved ones, or if they hear somebody coming into their property. Sometimes they imagine their children, but mostly they know to call the police, no matter what. 1122 Kings Road may look like a big house, but the property is built in a low budget way, honestly. The floors are noisy, the walls are thin, another 2 layers has been added on. So these 5 roommates were renting their rooms. And all are students. They know each other. BF and Maddie went to the same sorority. So they're sorority sisters. We've seen a lot of pictures of all these students together with each other. We've seen them imitating each other on the TikTok video. So they had some kind of connection. We don't know how deep the connections went, but they knew each other. They're making TikTok videos together in the kitchen and in the living room. These two girls' timelines and 911 call seem to be changing. There's more added on. There's more subtracted from it. There's a lot of editing going on. But what is surprising is that they did not call 911. The first original timelines we were given was 3 to 4 a.m. Ethan and Zana, the last timeline they were seen or a friend got a text from Ethan was at 2 a.m. He said Ethan couldn't have made it home until 2:15, 2:10. And that makes sense because DM and BF did not mention seeing Ethan and Zana at home. So something most likely happened to them at the Sigma Chi fraternity party. But what about Maddie and Kaylee? These two young women want us to believe that they were sitting in Kaylee's room and discussing about the food that they ate, Kaylee and Maddie, and the girls wanted to go to the food truck, but we don't know if it was all four, if it was these two, or if it was Kaylee and Maddie. May they rest in peace. It can't be Kaylee and Maddie, because Kaylee and Maddie just came from the grub truck, and there was so much going on there. They both were so intoxicated, I don't think they would want to go there again. I think this part is made up, in my opinion only. I think they're giving us the timeline, the 911 call in bits and pieces so that we can digest. And if it doesn't make sense to us and we make too much noise on social media, then they're going to add another little bit and correct another little bit. These girls did not call 911 since the first two victims dropped, were deleted. May they rest in peace. That's Zana and Ethan. Something happened to Kaylee and Maddie from 2:52. That's the last phone call that was made from Maddie's phone to Jack D. I've always said that, just like I've said, I believe it's the frats. I don't believe outsiders are involved. I don't believe people came from Boise or ex-cons are involved. That's not what I believe at all. I've tried doing deep research into this, deep searching from the very beginning. And every time I try to check into if it could be drugs involved, yes, it could be, but not more than the ordinary that we think of college students. Yes, they were dealing, because Bethany Funk was, according to her Venmos, allegedly. And we saw Emma Bailey in the house. And we know what Demetrius and Emma Bailey are known for. There was that OD case, and they got caught for trying to smuggle in drugs and other things through the border. So who knows Emma and Demetrius here? It has to be Bethany Funk, in my opinion. Maybe DM was doing the same things, but we can't see her Venmos. But BF was clearly doing that. And that would make sense why they didn't call 911 for 8 hours. I don't think they did much cleaning in the scene, because we could see the red liquid seeping out from the outside of the house. DM said that she saw Zana lying on the floor. And she rests in peace. DM saw Zana while she was running down from the second floor to the first floor to BF's room. Now, question number 1. DM, aren't you scared to run down when there's an active crime going on? Why would you be running and taking the risk of your life to run down to BF's room? And second question, you saw Xana lying on the floor and you thought she was drunk. That's it. So you ran down to the first floor and called it a night. Is that what you're trying to say? And then the main thing, you and BF did not call 911 for 8 to 9 hours. You'll call Hunter Johnson first. Look at how many red flags there is with you. Didn't Xana mean anything to you? You didn't even show up to the memorial. What was that about? You just went and got matching tattoos? I understand you were grieving, but the memorial was 2.5 weeks later. Why didn't you come? Could you all have had any bruises, any scars? Why did you all not come to the memorial, is my question. Something's not right with the 911 call. Emily didn't seem like she was crying or yelling. Xana was her best friend. I know people grieve differently, people take shock in different ways, but there's something weird about the 911 call.
She asked, so the other 2 roommates were there at the time of the attack?
All the information we have from our investigation is that yes, they were.
Okay, but they were unhurt?
That is correct.
So is there any explanation as to why it took so long then for someone to call 911? You have surviving witnesses to an incident at 3 or 4 in the morning, and the 911 call didn't come until noon?
I don't think I ever said that they were witnesses. I said they were there. So, we don't know why that call came in at noon and not in the middle of the night. Would we love for that to have happened? Yes, but that's not how it took place. So that's why we're investigating everything still to try to pull all the pieces together.
Were they one of the people, were they the 911 caller?
At this point in time, I'm not going to divulge who our 911 caller is, just because I want to keep the integrity of the investigation at this point, okay?
Where was DM that night? It was said from the very beginning that she was with her boyfriend, Quinn Kelly, but he said he wasn't at Idaho, Moscow. He sent a social media picture showing, I think it was an Instagram picture showing where he was at the times the unalivings happened, I believe between 3 to 4 a.m. That was the first timeline. But many college students were saying they saw him with a mask. Apparently he took pictures with DM and they put it on VSOP. Later on, they put it on private. They took pictures in front of 1122 Kings Road. What concerns me most is DM could easily have a motive after what happened in Halloween. On the 30th of October, she's being bullied. She's a human being. She could have reacted in a very unpleasant way, or she could have told her dad, who's indulged in the criminal world, allegedly. Because she did call her dad, and her dad was calling her. What was all the calling to the parents about? Both DM and BF. Who were they sending pictures to? On Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok. Wonder if they sent pictures to Jovito and Saeed and all the people watching at Banfield and the grub truck. All the people yelling out Zan and Ethan's name. Why didn't these surviving roommates come to the memorial? What actually happened in the house? They would know. At least now that we know Kaylee and Maddie were alive at 2 a.m. because they were sitting and talking to the surviving roommates inside Kaylee's room. They're talking about going to the food truck. So what happened after 2 a.m.? Pay attention to actually, I hate to say that, but think about one thing. DM and BF, now I understand what the chief means by they're not witnesses. They were just there. In fact, they could be suspect themselves, honestly. I've never said that before, but have to be honest. Let's think about one thing. They're people of interest to you. I remember the beginning, they were people of interest. They're people of interest because they were in fact inside the crime scene. What were they doing? Is there any proof that they were sleeping? How long was the phone switched off? Why did DM charge a phone? Why did DM feel it was safe to run down to BF's room? She saw Zan on the floor. Why didn't she call 911? Why did she wait so many hours? Could she be taking revenge after Maddie exposed DM's secrets, allegedly? That is all over TikTok. And that is on Maddie's TikTok. It looked like they were hazing. Maddie was hazing DM. And that was 12 days before the quadruples. That is something to really look at. And Hannah Clay's case is something to really look at. Because her brother and his friend was at the grub truck with the white car. The fact that BF is selling rugs on a Venmo, it's her own Venmo, could be worth looking at or thinking of if BF was selling rugs to Brian Koberger, because he was using heroin for 5 years. That's serious. Could have gone to something milder. He's already having enough problems with his professor, his work. He was having warnings from his work. So he could have been buying from this house, from DM, maybe even BF. I showed you the Venmos many times. What is the connection between BF, DM, and Brian Koberger? It's something that I would like to know. I know that it was said that he doesn't know the victims. What about the surviving roommates? And a defense attorney can say whatever she wants to because she wants to try and challenge that and win for our client. But we don't know the facts till the trial starts. I want to know what DM was up to that night. Was she really going to buy food? Why did she text Eric G., the driver? Why didn't she call 911 for 9 hours, in my opinion, not 8 hours? I care about the first timeline. She didn't call them maybe because A, she was threatened not to call 911. Maybe B, she was involved herself. Maybe C, she didn't care. She had her own beef against the surviving, I mean the victims, the 4 victims. She and BF did not even bother to come to the memorial. Of course they're going to get a bit pressure, but people would have in fact give them sympathy and empathy and everything. Why didn't they come to the memorial is my question. DM would have heard every little thing going on inside and outside the house. BF would have heard everything going outside the property, in front of the property, because she lives at the ground floor. I think that's the escapatory evidence BF has, that she lives in the ground floor. I think footprints were found out of a window. Maybe it's the Banfield boys. DM said at the grand jury it was leaked out. Banfield told us 2 years ago that DM said she heard rummaging upstairs and she thought it was the Sigma Chi fraternity boys. Why did she think it was the Sigma Chi fraternity boys and not other frats, is my question. She knew something was going on. And she felt safe. She knew whoever was doing these awful acts, and I know it wasn't one person, because Kaylee had multiple weapons used on her and multiple injuries, stab wounds. So whoever was doing these crimes, the suspects, assured her and BF that they would be safe and not to call 911 or they'll be next. That's what I believe. Are their fathers involved? Why were they calling the fathers and the mothers? DM's father has a lengthy criminal record. That's the facts. Could he have been involved? I think the black truck that the tripod was talking about and that we see flashing from 1122 Kings Road could be either DM's father's truck. I heard it was DM's stepmother's black truck, and I've even heard it's Quinn Kelly's father's truck. So that black truck could have come from Boise, Idaho. DM could have got a boyfriend, Quinn Kelly, whose father has a lengthy criminal history, and her father, who has a lengthy criminal history, to come and maybe take revenge on Maddie and Zana for whatever happened on Halloween. That's a revenge killing. And then you have crime of passion, which is Jack D and Kaylee. Or maybe Jack Showalter and Maddie and Kaylee. There's revenge, there's crime of passion, rugs and money definitely could be involved. There was a lot of stuff going on in this house. Let's be honest. DM was hiding secrets. And by Maddie, it was Maddie, not me, who put up, say this if you're gay, Jaden. She meant like Jaden Smith, as Will Smith's son, who wears dresses. So whatever she meant by that, and this nasty song that's playing on TikTok, on, hate to say that, may she rest in peace, Maddie's TikTok, DM looks like she was being bullied. She was gagged. She was put in a room alone. She had that long blue hair on. And it looked like Zana was taking pictures of her. And Maddie is sitting on DM's lap. She looks like she was hazing her with a bottle or with a can of drink in DM's mouth. So could DM have retaliated taking revenge? Could her boyfriend, her father, could they have done it? Allegedly? Could BF have been involved? Why was her father calling her? I'm just asking questions. They watched Zana on the floor and they didn't call 911. That is so heartbreaking. That is really heartbreaking to you. None of them should watch each other in such a situation. I saw Steve G. I don't know what to say. Really don't know what to say, because in the beginning he was saying that he believes that people were cleared out too soon, that there are many people of interest. He did not trust Showalter, and now he wants BK without the trial have even been started yet. He wants him gunned down. Doesn't make sense. I thought as a parent you would want the correct justice for your child. He's not interested in the surviving roommates. I just don't understand how people can be so okay with hearing the 911 call, reading the transcripts, and you can clearly hear and see something's not right. And if you discuss about it, people think you're a pro-burger. That is so wrong. We just want the correct justice. Something's not right here. Nobody should be off the hook. Everyone should be checked into properly. How come Kaylee and Ethan's parents are the only two parents talking? Were their children the targets? Were they the main targets? They could have been. Of Showalter, because Ethan got him kicked out of his flat and Kaylee got him kicked out of the corner club. Maybe that's why the parents are talking. Or maybe it was Maddie and Zana that were the targets. Maybe that's why their parents are quiet. But Maddie and Zana's parents hardly talk. I can understand at least they're not coming and giving such a harsh opinion without the trial even starting. Even Stacy Chapin is reconsidered and she wants to come and see the trial. But I don't understand what it is with Steve Gonzalez. They're so good in defending Jack D when Jack D was the last person Maddie and Kaylee called 10 times. They can see that the frats are involved. Steve is even saying in the interview that he did his own research for 10 hours a day. He was going and interviewing everyone, the frats and everyone. He knows himself that this is more than one person who did it. But it looks like maybe the FBI wanted him to run along with a certain narrative. I don't know what's going on. But he and the mainstream news channels and law enforcement and the prosecution are talking the same. Talking the same language. They need to be using their critical thinking. I believe it's the students that fed them with all this nonsense and they ran with it. The surviving roommates, Hunter, the frats, they all blamed it on BK, in my opinion. Let me know what you think. Have a lovely weekend. Please like, share and subscribe.